When visions arrived uninvited, they revealed a skill that Victoria Laurie could no longer ignore. What followed has been a career bridging two worlds. On this episode of The Significance, Victoria shares how listening to the dead has led to over 30 best-selling novels and a life shaped by what others can't see. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. The Significance with Tyler and Signy starts now.
Hello and welcome to The Significance. So as I tend to do, I tend to go down in the rabbit hole of YouTube. And that's where I discovered our next guest, Victoria Laurie, who is a best-selling author and happens to be a psychic as well. As I started watching her, I really became drawn into not just her energy, but her take on everything. And she covers cold cases on her show. And I kind of was excited to get her on our show because our show deals with the significance. And who better to talk about the significance of life and purpose better than Victoria Laurie. So Victoria Laurie, welcome to The Significance.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm thrilled to be here, truly. And I love that you are focused on the significance and purpose of people's lives, because I will tell you, that's one of the number one questions that I get from my private clients is a lot of women, empty nesters, and they're like, what is my purpose? And oftentimes my answer is just, your purpose from now on is to enjoy life. You've worked your ass off being a servant to everybody else. And they have a really hard time sometimes wrapping their brain around that. And I think that, an evolving purpose is an awesome thing if you're fortunate enough to have that. Like always, there's a new horizon to chase. That's wonderful. But for most of us, we have like that one little nugget somewhere in our lives and we tackle it and we conquer it and we achieve it. And then it's like, okay, I don't have anything else that's like, come at me, bro. And it's okay. It's okay to downshift sometimes and just take a rest and coast. That's totally okay.
I think as women, with being mothers and being, and I'm not saying that fathers and men do not raise children as well, they most assuredly do, but as women, we are carrying the child, giving birth, that maternal instinct, it is, a lot of people do not understand, it's a full-time job. There is so much work involved, and once you have children, your life is not your own. It's just not. You make that sacrifice. Well worth it. I mean, my children are by far the greatest gifts that were ever given to me. But it is a lot of work. And I think it is very difficult for women to make that shift. Like that, oh, okay, who am I? What am I doing now? What is my purpose? Bump it into furniture. So it's definitely a transition. It's a transitional period.
You have to adopt a new identity.
Yeah, absolutely.
A whole new identity. You're no longer so-and-so's mom. You are an individual woman. And oftentimes, you get through raising the kids and you're like looking at your partner going, oh, I don't know anymore, and then you have to like really, really reinvent yourself.
They do, for heaven's sakes.
I see a lot of that. And it's all okay. It's all okay. It's okay.
Well, it's about the journey, right? And everything we're learning along the way, all the information and the lessons we are gathering along the way. So
Exactly.
What do you feel were the first signs that you possessed an intuitive gift? Was it something really very clear or was it something that built gradually?
It was, I think in my individual case, I lived a very afraid childhood. I was a child of autism, undiagnosed. And I was also living in a very dysfunctional and violent household. And because my father had a prestigious position, no one questioned if I showed up skinny or with bruises. So it was really difficult. I had a very unpredictable parent. And I think that a lot of my skills, and I don't think it's a gift, I think it's a skill, a lot of my skills were developed trying to predict how she would react. Because when I came home and through the door, I never knew who I was going to get, Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde. And so a lot of it was trying not to be in front of her when she turned or flipped. And then there were things that, you know, sometimes when you're kind of developing your own intuition and you're young and you encounter something that's kind of scary. So for me, it was sitting around the table, and just out of my mouth, I looked at my father and I said, "You're getting fired." And like the whole table went silent, and he got really mad. "Why would you say that? That's, you know, right?"
Dear.
Blew his top. And 2 weeks later, he got a pink notice. And so it kind of became like she said it and it came true. Right. And then I kept having this vision that our house was going to catch fire. And I kept seeing the strobe light bouncing off the brick of our neighbors. And I knew it was in our driveway. And
So
that
the
was
lights
not
from
something
lights from the fire truck.
Fire truck. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not something you keep to yourself. Right. So I just kept, and my parents got really angry of hearing it. So they were like, "It's fine. You're imagining it, blah, 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 blah." I go off to college. My brother's downstairs in the basement with his friends. They're like, "Oh, weed, pot, let's do it." And they set the couch on fire. So these things, big bad things, right, that were coming out of my mouth were happening. And in my mind, because I was saying them out loud, I was giving them causation. And then kind of the final kicker was my freshman, I think it was my freshman year of college, I had a professor that I absolutely loved. I think he was a history professor from what I remember. And he was great. He would get in your face, and he was like a big, towering kind of guy. And I loved his class. And one day after class, I just knew there was something wrong with his heart. So I went up to him, and after everybody else had left, so we had a little bit of privacy, and I said, "I think there's something wrong with your heart." And he blew his top. He got really angry at me. So like yelled at me. And to someone with autism, that's so traumatic. You know, you're just like trying to do good. And here you get this response. Like it seemingly makes no sense. Well, that summer he died of a heart attack, massive heart attack. So that's when I was like, all right, I want nothing to do with this business at all, like nothing. So I got a job in the mortgage industry. I was going to be this professional. I was going to, you know, I mean, I don't think anybody, especially a little girl, thinks someday I want to be a psychic. You know, like that's not something that we're aspiring to, right? Because of the stereotypes
too. If there was trepidation, especially coming from the environment that you came,
massive trepidation, massive. And then in my early 30s, I met a woman who was a really gifted, just naturally gifted medium. And she was making her living as a nanny. And she was just so good. She was just fantastic with names. Her name's Rebecca Rosen, if anybody's curious. She's amazing. And I kept saying, "Rebecca, you got to do this for a living. You got to do this. You got to start charging people. You have to do it." And she looked at me and she said, "Well, I will if you will." And I thought, fuck. I was like, oh, I didn't see that one coming. Yeah. So then I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, well, she's really shy. She's probably not going to leave her nanny job. So, okay, fine. I'll take that bet. I'm like, okay. All right, Rebecca. Yeah. Let's do that. The next day, she's like, I got a place to work out of. I got 3 clients already signed up. And I'm like, double, right? So I ended up like through a long circuitous route, finding a little shop in Florida, Tampa, Florida to work out of. And for about probably the first 6 months, I thought, I'm a fraud. I'm a sham. These people are all going to find out. This is just terrible. I can't believe I'm being made to do this. I hate this. And these people kept referring people, and they kept coming back. And they kept saying, "You know, when you told me that I was going to have a water view?" And I was like, no way. I just moved to an apartment with a pool, you know? So it was like just kind of affirmation after affirmation after affirmation and confirmation that I've slowly really slow, because I was the biggest skeptic of all this stuff, truly, which is why I laugh at people who are like, I don't believe in that stuff. It's like, okay, I don't care. I've proven it to myself. I've been at this game long enough to offer something I couldn't possibly know in such specific detail that I then hear back, oh my God, remember when you said blah, 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 that it's a preponderance of evidence for me right now. So be a skeptic. I don't care. You do you. But I know what I'm doing. I can feel when I'm connecting. I can decipher information in my mind and know what it feels like and know how it translates. And I'm still constantly surprised, So yeah, there was a lot of, this was not anything that I ever thought I would make my living at. And I've been at it 25 years now, quarter century. So.
Wow.
Yeah. I really wanted a normal life. I wanted
yeah.
a normal life.
As opposed
What
to
is normal? What is normal?
Like
Though, right?
Corporate job, climbing that corporate ladder, 401k, working your way up the corporate. I mean, that's truly how I envisioned my life would be.
But look at all the people that you've helped as a result of what you've chosen to do. What a gift to others. So, which leads me into, can you walk us through your journey of discovering your abilities and how you learned to truly trust them and hone them?
I trusted them forever. It took a very, very long time for me personally to trust them. And then one day I got a brand new puppy, and she was the cutest, most adorable little thing. And I was having work done on my house. And I told the handyman, I said, okay, Lily she's behind the baby gate in the kitchen. Don't let her out from behind the baby gate. I've got to go do some stuff. So I had literally just bought a brand new bedspread. And as I'm in line with the bedspread, it was expensive. I get the feeling like, don't buy this. And I'm like, shut up. Don't buy it. What? I can't afford this. What are you talking about? Don't buy it. I'm like, And I bought it, right? Got home, put it on the bed, went out to run my errands. Don't let the puppy out of the baby gate. I come home not a half hour later. The puppy's not behind the baby gate. Dave, where's the puppy? Oh, I locked her in your bedroom. Open the bedroom door, giant pee stain in the middle of the bedspread. I had literally unpacked it like 45 minutes earlier. So what do? Okay, well, it's a giant bedspread. It's not going to fit in my washing machine. Let me take it to a laundromat. I flooded the laundromat.
Oh my goodness.
Twice. I flooded the laundromat. So then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should take it to the cleaners now. So I take out this 100-pound, now dripping wet, bedspread, throw it in the back of the car. I'm looking for a cleaners. I find a cleaners. I start to take it out of the back of the car, and it had come to rest on a pink flyer. So guess what was next? Staying with P and pink.
My mother had all of our charts done by a very prominent astrologer, Gavin Arthur. This is back in the 60s. And I kid you not, it tracks my life and my career. Even, when I was having children, my career, she'll have an audience, all of these things so significantly. And it says that she has psychic abilities, which freaked me out as a teenager as I started to hear things and understand things and know things for no reason whatsoever. And it took a long time for me to trust that. I don't do anything with it other than, to guide my life. But every time I don't listen to that internal, intuitive, heart center voice, there's the head voice and there's the heart voice. So when I listen to the heart voice and I act on that, everything runs very smoothly. When I go against that, it's chaos. So Calamity. It's amazing because everybody does have that intuitive ability, correct?
100%.
But
100%.
Do you feel that it's almost like any other muscle in your body that you exercise? It gets stronger the more you try and practice it.
For sure. I mean, there's no comparison to when I began as a psychic to where I am now, because as you practice it, as you rely on it, as you work it like a muscle, as you say, which is exactly the way I see it. Like for me, it's a skill. It's not, some sort of.
That's the word you use. Skill. It's a skill.
Yeah. So I have developed the language, a full, rich, radiant language of what translates from energy passing from a client to me out as an actual, oh, so you're going to Ireland, right? There's a whole symbolism, like hieroglyphics, that takes place in my mind. And that's the way my intuition works for me. And I laugh a lot because I say to people, listen, I'm a future forecaster. I'm much more clairvoyant psychic than I am medium. I don't really hear them, but they'll show me stuff. And sometimes they'll show me stuff and I'll be like, don't make me say that. I don't want to say that. That's weird. That's goofy.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time I'm like, okay, your dad's putting on a Yogi Bear costume. Does that mean anything to you? You know, it's always the what, you know, that moment. So they still are teaching me, and I'm still learning new symbols and adding to the vocabulary. But the more you practice it, the more that vocabulary grows.
So when you had that, that was sort of an aha moment with you with the bedspread and the puppy. Did you start to put that together on a faster schedule? I mean, did it start to sort of present itself rapidly?
Actually, right at sort of the same time that I was starting to receive a lot of feedback from clients, and they were recommending other people, and they were coming to see me because I have a hard and fast rule, typically hard and fast rule, that I will only see someone twice a year, no sooner than 6 months apart, because I don't want to be anybody's decision maker, right? I'll tell you what's going on in your life and you can make the decisions from there. So they started, right, that was around the 6 month mark. And most of the people that I had read 6 months prior started coming back, and they started bringing friends, and they started being family. And they would just tell these stories about how they pushed back on something that I said would happen. And I was, okay, maybe you're right. And then boom, it would happen. Maybe not in the way that I had said, okay, this exactly will happen, right? But in a way that still fit really, really clearly. So, like as an example, I had told one woman, I said, I see you winning some money. I don't think it's a ton. Maybe you're winning the lottery, right? Well, she and her husband, 3 months later, entered a raffle at a state fair, and they won the raffle, and it was like $1,000. And as their raffle ticket was called out, her husband turned to her and goes, "The psychic!" You know, so it's this preponderance, again, it's this preponderance of evidence that I at some point, probably within the first 3 years, just said, okay, I'm obviously doing something right. I'm obviously hitting on energy that is a foretelling of events that are coming up. And they may not act like I think they're going to act with that information as it comes up. But this is what I'm seeing. And that's why I love doing what I do, because it gives you the option. So I don't tell people what to do, right? I always get like, should I take that job? And my response is, I'm not going to tell you should or shouldn't. I'm going to tell you what will happen if you take the job, or what will happen if you don't take the job. And it's up to you to decide. And sometimes it's just an even thing. And I'll say, well, if it were me, I'd stay put. Or if it were me, I'd take the new adventure. So that's the only way that you can help people navigate what's coming down the pike with them, because life is just one big clusterfuck of choices, right?
It's you make plans and the universe laughs.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I did mention, as if this journey wasn't interesting enough, then you somewhere along the line decide to become an author. Where did that, and coming from a fellow writer, I'm not a novelist, I'm a screenwriter, but where did that, was that always there? Did you always write? Where did this?
So in like 2003, I got laid off, and it was something I saw coming, but something I really was like, no, don't happen. And it still happened, right? So one morning I was watching an interview with Janet Ivanovich, who writes the Stephanie Plum novels. And the host, whoever was interviewing her, was talking about how funny she is. And I was like, I could really use a laugh. So I went to Barnes & Noble, got the first 3 novels, and I'm halfway through, I think, the second novel. And I'm like, this woman sounds like I do. Like, I write like she sounds. So I called my sister. I'm like, I'm going to write a book. And she's like, okay, good luck with that. More power to you, sis. I was like, okay, so what will my protagonist do? What will she has to solve crimes. What could she possibly do? Like for a week, I'm avoiding the most obvious thing.
Obvious.
You know, I'm like, oh,
Trying to
I'll have
read
to
a
think
lot
about
of
this
it.
after these 4 clients today. I don't know. What could she possibly do? So it finally dawned on me, oh my God, she's a psychic. And it was a great opportunity to explain how the psychic mind works and how information comes into my head and gets spit out as English, right? And how it's not limited to just what's happening in my mind. It's actually a physical sensation. So no's feel heavy or bad news feels right?
Mhm.
And there's a visceral combination of what's also going on in your head. So it's sort of a whole body kind of reaction to information that you're getting off of someone else's energy. And I thought, okay, I'll write this one book and that'll scratch that itch and I'll be whoop, whoop, you know, on my way. And I sent out career letters, 121 agents. One said yes. He's still my agent to this day. He is the best agent in the business. I absolutely love him. And we've done 42 novels together. So yeah, so it just was the right idea at the right time. And it took off. And it's resonated with, like, Abby Cooper's Psychic Eye, which was my first novel. I think it's sold a little over 100,000 copies. So it's resonated.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And
It's been great.
how would you describe your writing style? And do you think that it's
Snarky.
changed over the years?
No.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. What was it?
She said snarky.
There's a definition. And do you feel it's changed throughout the years? Has it evolved into something different, or just fine tuned the snarkiness?
I think I really enjoy the inner narrative that is the filtered part, right? So there's what is spoken out loud, and then there's what's happening inside the protagonist's head, and that's the part I really enjoy. You know, so if I can get you with some suspense and some a good mystery, a good plot, and take you on kind of a roller coaster ride. Like, I'm only satisfied with a novel if I've made you laugh unexpectedly at several moments. If you get tear up now and again, if you're at like a love story evolving, and if I get you to think, I've done my job. So I had an editor once who said, I was like racking my brain, kind of trying to come up with a plot for another book. And she's like, you know, Victoria, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. And this is like my 15th book. And I was like, no one told me that. No one told me that. Why didn't someone send me a memo about this sooner? But then I was like, too late. And it was like, you know, you just got your habits of like, no, I'm going to totally reinvent this wheel this time. So the plots, I never want them to feel like it's just generic regurgitation of what's been told 70,000 times before. I want it to feel unique to me, to the character, to someone reading it. So
when you started, obviously, when it was staring you in the face, and you decided, what am I going to make her? And okay, she's a psychic. How much does your skill do you weave into the narrative? All of it.
All of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think it's important because it's also a form of advertising, right? So
very true. Yeah.
What you don't want is to present a character that's omnipotent and then you're just the psychic, you know? You want to present something that can be repeated in a one-on-one conversation with someone who's read your book and is curious and wants a psychic reading. So there are 2 little tweaks. One is that I make Abby able to tell from a photograph if someone has died. I can do that on occasion. It's not a regular skill of mine. And when she hears a lie, she hears liar, liar, pants on fire. I can usually tell when someone's lying, but not 100% of the time. So I made those her 2 little superpowers. But other than that,
oh, that's cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. As someone who sees what others don't, how do you decide what to share and when, or to just step back and say, I'm just don't know if this is something that a can of worms I should open up?
Coming to mind, I have a client that I've read for years and years. And she had cancer that then spread to her bones.
Oh, so
and
sorry.
she was trying so hard to stay here. And she booked a reading. She was like they'd said, sorry, you know, like you've got 6 months and there's nothing else we can try. And she booked a reading looking for hope. And there's a part of me that's like, I never want to take hope away from someone. But at the same time, you booked a reading with me, you know, you paid for the truth. So in that moment, I really had to ask her, do you really want to know what I'm seeing and help her accept what was coming, or have her chase this kind of really just, it wasn't going to end well, period. It was everywhere. And it just wasn't, I mean, she was thinking about going to Germany and getting treatments overseas. And I was like, you're thinking about spending tens of thousands of dollars. So we had a conversation around that. So I don't hold back. I don't filter unless it's a situation like that where I know what's going to happen, but I'm not sure that they're prepared to hear it. And in that instance, I always leave it up to them. Do you really want to know? And it's up to them at that point. But I try in those, and those are very rare circumstances. You know, that's one every 1,000 readings. That doesn't happen often at all. So don't anybody be scared that I'm going to be like, well, you're dying tomorrow. It's really super rare. But other than that, I typically don't hold back. It is hard if someone's like facing a layoff and they're worried about it and I'm seeing it happen. Well, then you have to offer them what's after the layout. You know, when will they get a new job? When will there be hope again for them?
I would think also with a significant other, if you are picking up on a situation where somebody is
Triangle.
Exactly, cheating or being disloyal to their partner, that I would think that would be a difficult thing to broach with someone. You know, well, how
It's
much
tough.
do you really want to know?
Yep. That's I mean, that's the only way to approach it, right? They've made an appointment with me because they want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear it, but they do want to hear it. And in those situations, you have to say, listen, do you really want to know? Because I'm going to give you the truth. If you don't want to know, we can go on to a different topic. But if you really want to know what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm sensing, then I'll give it to you straight.
As you were going along, honing your skill set, you mentioned some people would come back to you and say, "Oh, this happened and this happened." So was there was there one that stood out more than any where,
Yes.
as you were on the journey, where you said, "Oh"?
Yes, there absolutely was. So there was a guy that came in. This was in the early days. I was such a little newbie, and he was wearing like a uniform with a name tag. I don't remember what his name was, but he looked like he'd lost a bet coming in to see me. Like he did not want to be there at all. And so he sits down, and I'm nervous because I can tell he doesn't want to be there. And it's a man. Most of my clients at that time were women. So I'm like nervous because it's a man. And I'm thinking he's going to be so much more skeptical. He already is skeptical. So I start off with saying, so are you and the missus having trouble? And he's like, no, we're fine. And I'm like, oh, well, if you have trouble and you decide to go your separate ways, I think that the kids would end up with you. You've got 2, right? It's right on the 2. And he's like, we are fine. Like he got angry. I'm like, okay, new topic, right? So then I said, oh, so you're self-employed? Nope. He's mad. And I'm like, oh, well, if you decide to become self-employed, it's going to be really great. Right? He's not saying me anything, not giving me anything. And then I said, oh, so you're moving? No. Okay. Well, if you decide to move, I feel like you'll have a view of water. And he looks at me like, lady, you are cuckoo, right? You're cuckoo because Florida, you know, beachfront is like, right? And then I said, and if you and your wife decide to go your separate ways and you look for love again, I feel like you'll end up with someone who has a V in her name. And he looks at me and I'm like, not me. It's not me. And so he pays and he just looked like, can I get a refund? Right. And it was just so, it was so crushing to see his disappointment and frustration because he really thought he'd been swindled. So 6 months go by. Guess who shows back up? This guy. And he goes, I don't know if you remember me. I'm like, I totally remember you. And he goes, I thought you were full of it. And I went home and I told my wife, and then she confessed that she'd been having an affair and she wanted a divorce. And her new boyfriend did not want kids. So she wanted me to have custody of the kids. And we had to sell our house. And I went looking for a place for us to live. And the only apartment I could afford had a view of the pool. And then right around that time, my cousin called me and said, hey, how about we open up our own AC repair business? So we've been in business together for 3 months and we're doing great. And he said, and the kicker was a couple months ago, I went to a bar and there was this beautiful woman at the bar. And she came over to me and picked me up. And her name is Minerva.
Oh my!
So
God.
that was like
unusual name too.
Knocked out of the park. So that was when I was like, okay, all right. In the face of all of his nope. I mean, he didn't say anything other than nope the entire reading, and in the face of all of that, it all laid out. So I was like, okay, there's something to this. So that was a big moment,
solidifying moment for you.
Yeah.
How have you personally handled skeptics throughout your journey?
I have loved this question because I would say a month ago, I would have been like, I don't handle them. I don't care. But I will tell you this. I went to an author event. And the reason that I decided to go was that one of the authors had written a book where she had two central characters. One was a physicist and one was a psychic. And I thought, oh, interesting premise. Let's go see that. Mm-hmm. So she's up on stage and someone had asked her what the inspiration for a psychic was. And she referenced a podcast she had seen that was kind of intriguing. And then she did a deep dive into Edgar Cayce, who died 80 years ago. So didn't do any research as far as I could tell into any contemporary intuitives. And then she said, but most of those people are garbage. That's what I did, Tyler. My eyes went, are you kidding me? And apparently this is something that she has said in every interview. Those people are garbage.
Wow.
And boy, did that get my dander up. Mm-hmm. Not only is she appropriating my skill set, but she's insulting me for making a profit off of it. Mm-hmm. So she got a personal message, whether she read it or not, I don't care. Mm-hmm. But she touts herself as being someone who loves physics and loves science. And I'm like, I love physics and I love science too. There is so much out there as far as research is concerned that is helping to fill in what the chemical reaction that's taking place when you have someone like me who can read energy and someone who isn't like me sitting across from me. There is an exchange of information that's happening.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
Right. And we're all like, oh yeah, well, Wi-Fi. I can't see that. I can't feel that, but it's transmitting information. I'll believe that, but I won't believe you. So it's there's so much supportive evidence out there. It's just people want to lean into the skepticism. And if they don't understand it, then they can dismiss it outright. And I'm really willing to have a conversation with someone who has an open mind and is skeptical. I'm very willing. I'm not here to convince anybody, but I'm willing to have a conversation. What I'm not willing to do is to be talked down at, right? Called garbage. Because bitch, I have saved lives using this skill. What have you done as a little CPA? Right. You save some money on someone's taxes. Woo! I'll go toe to toe with you. My career over yours any day of the week.
Well, I think so. Criticism on any level is difficult, and there's definitely a way to maneuver it and handle it. And everybody has an opinion. We all know that, and everybody is entitled to their opinion. Doesn't necessarily have to be mine, but it could be hurtful when somebody is sort of tearing what you're that is such an integral part of you as well. Tearing that apart. So. Exactly.
I mean, it's this, it's a frustration to Signy and Tyler. And I know you know this because you are enmeshed in the business, right, of entertainment, of how we're portrayed. The stereotype that we're all fraudsters, we're all shysters, we're all, taking little old ladies, naive little old ladies for every dime that they're worth. We're casting spells on people, and we don't really have any concrete information to share. That's driving me crazy. Like that is, I've seen so much of that in this past 2024, 2025 season. So I started writing the screenplay for Abby Cooper Psychic Guide because I'm done. I'm so tired.
Well, and it's interesting too, this person, forgive me if I don't remember her name, or maybe you didn't say her name.
I didn't.
Okay.
She knows who she is.
She is, it's one thing to have a commentary or an opinion, but she's also profiting off of using, so that's a whole different.
Precisely.
That's what makes it different. That's exactly what makes it different.
That when you use the word witch, I was thinking when you were talking about your childhood, and you had mentioned things, when you said something to your father, did you ever feel, or did that word ever come up when you were younger? Oh my gosh, maybe she's a witch. She's a witch, man. From Monty Python.
No, I don't, it's not like I don't identify as a witch. I have friends who are Wiccan, and that's how they defined their identity. And I'm not judging them at all. If they believe that energy can be crafted into a way to influence another person's behavior, who am I to say that's wrong? I don't know for a fact that that's not true. It's just not something I do. And it's not something that I necessarily think I want to do ever. But no one's ever pointed a finger at me and said witch, just because probably I'm Wendy Whitebread, like,
and you, it isn't Salem either in whatever year.
Yeah,
precisely.
Yeah.
Speaking, this is a perfect segue into skeptics, and you see this a lot with law enforcement. What is your opinion about? Do you believe that mediums are a useful tool to law enforcement or not? This is a very hot topic. Where do you fall on that?
Here's my opinion on investigators. I think that they are great at what they do, and I think that they bring their own intuition into the investigative process. I would never try to insert myself into an investigation, because that's a quick way to muck things up. Plus, what I'm getting, it may not translate into the evidence at hand. I may say, Mike did it. Well, maybe it's not the Mike they're looking at. Maybe there's a different Mike that did it. So is it a useful tool? I think it depends on the individual case, the individual investigator, whether or not they need someone to back up their own gut feelings, or maybe point them in a little bit of a different direction. But I think crimes are overwhelmingly solved by law enforcement investigators, period. So it's fun to write about.
Yeah.
But am I trying to insert myself into it? No.
And I think I wouldn't know this. Maybe you would have more information. But the psychics that have helped in investigations successfully, the investigator, I believe, would reach out to that to that psychic or. So if you got a call one day, how would you handle that? Or maybe you did.
I did.
Okay.
But not by a law enforcement person. I worked for a company years and years ago where a woman it was a giant call center, and one of the customer service agents, her son went missing, and the owner of the company called me. I'd done readings for him. He was like, okay, I get it. You're good. Called me and said, what do you have? What can you bring up? And I said, well, it's not great. I don't feel he survived. He was carjacked. I don't feel he survived. I said, there's something with 3 involved. And I said, he feels like he was in the back of the car. And I feel fire. So none of this is good. Well, it turned out he had been murdered kind of immediately when they took possession of his car. The 3 men involved were on a 3-day crime spree. And they found his remains burning somewhere out in a field. So could I have provided information that would have led to the killers? Maybe, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly had the energy of what took place,
Mm-hmm.
but I would never say that I'm the linchpin in a crime necessarily being solved or not. That would have to come from a whole lot of background information, looking at evidence. It's kind of like, I love the cold cases that we do on our podcast, because I look at all of the evidence that's out there, and I'm like, okay, my intuition says this direction, this guy. And sometimes there's even a little bit of motivation that you can pull out of the ether associated with it. So it's, kind of a tricky topic, right? Because there are so many opinions as to whether or not we can be a hindrance or a help. And it's just not something I've ever thought I'm going to insert myself into this.
Well, I like the investigators that I've watched on being interviewed where they've exhausted every resource and they've followed up on 1,000 leads that they got. So what would it hurt to talk to, and make, when you approach it like that, I think that's the most sensible, way to
100%, Tyler, 100%.
And you kind of opened up the next part of where I wanted to go. At the beginning of this episode, I shared how I discovered Victoria. If I wasn't in the entertainment business, I would be a profiler. True crime, cold case mind. That's how I fall asleep at night. So, and Victoria most often puts me, not in a bad way, puts me to sleep, but I fall asleep with Victoria. So on your show, you delve into cold cases. And that's how I discovered, I forgot which cold case it was that I typed in and your show came up. I think it was the Bricca. It might have been the Bricca family.
Oh, yeah, the Bricca family murders. Yeah.
So I thought what would be really interesting is for our audience to see a little bit of what you do on your show.
Yeah.
And I searched, and I believe you haven't covered this case yet on your show.
I've not covered
okay?
it.
So
No.
I wanted to make sure that you weren't repeating yourself. But I thought it'd be interesting to cover a case that is still talked about. It's still covered. Profilers, detectives are still talking about, looking back now, do they think that this case was solved? Is it considered unsolved? There's varying opinions. So I thought it'd be an interesting case to get your opinion on. And Signy, you're going to give us give the audience a little bit of background
I'm
on
gonna
the
read
case.
This to you. On July 27th, 1981, 6-year-old Adam Walsh vanished from a Sears department store in Hollywood, Florida, after being briefly separated from his mother. 2 weeks later, his severed head was found in a canal over 100 miles away. The rest of his body was never recovered. The case shocked the nation, ignited widespread fear amongst parents, and catalyzing sweeping changes in child safety laws, including the creation of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Though convicted serial killer Otis Toole eventually confessed to Adam's murder, his shifting stories and the destruction of key evidence left many questions unanswered. In 2008, the Hollywood Police Department officially closed the case, naming Toole as the killer. However, numerous detectives, FBI agents, and criminal profilers continue to question the strength of the evidence, with some believing the case remains technically unsolved. Your thoughts on that, Victoria?
It's solved. For me, it's absolutely solved. So interestingly, like I've heard, who hasn't heard of Adam Walsh, right? He's so hard. That little boy was so adorable, 6 years old, right?
That's tragic.
You can't even imagine what his parents must have been going through in those 2 weeks, especially his mother, who probably her entire life has blamed herself when it was not her fault, right? So for those people who don't know, because I did a little bit of a dive into the Adam Walsh case this morning, just to kind of make sure that what I got last night was in line. She went to go look at a lamp that was on sale. He wanted to stay and play at an arcade with a bunch of other little young boys. Some were older. And while she was looking at this lamp, a security guard was notified that there was a ruckus around the arcade. And the boys were arguing about whose turn it was next. So the security guard, not knowing that Adam didn't belong with this group, ordered everybody out of the building and sent little Adam out an entrance of Sears that he wasn't familiar with. And that's when opportunist came by and grabbed him. So it just like, and this was the 80s, this was during a time when literally you had to be reminded, where are your kids? It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Right? Like it wasn't like it is today. So last night I was like, okay, so I got to look at the Adam Walsh case, and I went to sleep and then kind of woke up. It was sort of breath to sleep, and I wrote down Adam strangled, decap, burned ashes, O'Toole. That's what I wrote down. And then I woke up today to look up the case, and it was determined by the ME that he was strangled. and then he was decapitated. And O'Toole confessed. He was an arsonist, a known arsonist, and he confessed to burning the rest of the body. And I'm like, that's exactly what I saw in my mind's eye. I think it was O'Toole. For me, there is no question that it was him. The evidence that would have pointed to his guilt was lost. And it's a jaw-dropping case of police incompetence. How do you lose a car?
Yeah.
A machete used.
And I think for most of the investigators now, the detectives now and profilers that study the case and say that they can only go on evidence and look what happened, it got botched. But the problem with Toole for them was
he confessed and recanted.
He confessed to 100 murders, you know, like and then he didn't know certain details. He got them wrong. So I think that's what they kind of hinge on, where if you just look at the evidence, and then I heard people say that John and his wife, Reve, just wanted it to be over. Yeah. And so when he confessed to them, it was, well, let's put this behind us too. So they thought maybe they went along with his confession because they wanted to close it. But it's very interesting.
For me, it just is so solid in the energy that it was O'Toole. It just is like, I think that he probably had the intent of trading Adam amongst other men. I have a feeling that Adam was going to be used amongst other men. I think that there were 3 that he was intending on having that happen to. But I think his very first account of what happened when he drove away from Sears, how Adam started to panic and cry, and he punched him, and Adam really started to cry, and then he beat him into unconsciousness. That for me is a detail and a sequence of events that feels really like it flows. Do you know what I'm saying? And that he strangled him with a seatbelt, and that there was blood found in O'Toole's car on the mat, and a bloody machete. That for me kind of seals the deal.
Yeah.
It just is, his first account just feels accurate. And he was seen in the area at the time of the disappearance. So I think sometimes it's a zebra, you know? You're trying to see any other animal that it could be, but sometimes it's that. And that's what I think it is.
And sometimes it becomes even more interesting when, I don't know if you saw but there's a lot of detectives that think it could have been Jeffrey Dahmer involved because he was in that area at the time. So it becomes very much more this bigger, it becomes a Zodiac thing if you let it, you know? So.
And it really could have been that Dahmer was looking for opportunities at around the same time that O'Toole was looking for opportunity. I mean, this was late 70s, early 80s. These men were preying on malls because this is where you went in that era. You went to go hang out at the mall. Everybody was there. And it was before the time when children were really being disappeared. Right? So it was kind of at the point at which the stranger danger thing started to kind of catch hold. I mean,
and that's what this case did, you know, I remember my mother, you know, when I was young, when I would go to a store, if I would hide in like the clothes spinning thing, she would freak out, you know, like where's, you know, that's what it did to mothers in stores, you know?
I was almost abducted in 78 by a serial killer. He lived in my neighborhood.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he lived in my neighborhood. So the Oakland County serial child, we did a podcast on it. The Oakland County serial child killer.
I believe I remember watching that one. Yeah. Wow. So you believe though that they did get the guy, and it was.
I really do think so. I really do think so. I mean, he recanted, he confessed to 100 other crimes, but there is a log of the evidence that was logged from him that fits with his original story. And I can see him wanting to recant because pedophiles end up dead.
Don't do well in prison,
they don't live long. You know, Adam was 6, not 15.
It's just such a tragic story.
It really is. It's really awful. Just awful. Poor kid.
Thank you for showing our viewers, you know, what you tackle on your show, which check it out because it's amazing.
One quick question that just keeps popping into my head. There's a lot of information that comes into you, and some of it joyful, some of it, you know, productive, some of it awful and heartbreaking. Do you have difficulty sifting through that and putting it to rest at the end of a day? Or is that something that you just sort of continue to carry with you?
There are some cold cases that we've tackled. There was a little girl who was like 8 or 9 who went missing in down south, and I just hit her energy, like I hit on it, and I know exactly what happened to her. And I still well up when I think of what happened to that poor girl. And so, like, I try and avoid child serial killer kind of death cases. Every once in a while, I'll be like, okay, I can kind of create a little bit of a buffer and a little bit of a distance. But it's tough. It's really tough. That is lingering in the atmosphere, so to speak. It's so tragic, so horrific, so tremendously cruel that it's hard to shed that. It's hard to let that go. I
think it would be.
Yeah, it's only when I allow myself to tune in on that, which is good. So I'm not like at the grocery store going, which is great. My everyday life is totally normal. I usually only flip the switch when I'm reading for a client or tuning in on a cold case. So it's not a difficult existence, so to speak. I'm not fending off, buffering all this terrible information. I think after a quarter century, you kind of learn to put up buffers, insulate
I would
yourself.
think you would have to. Because as I said, that's a lot of information coming in continually that you absorb. So
having watched Victoria so much now, I notice when certain ones, when they do affect you more than others. Not that you don't find them all devastating, but certain ones. I think there was a recent one with Jennifer Keese in Florida, the girl that was missing. And it just, like I said, not that they're all not horrible stories, but certain ones really pull you.
There's just something about, sometimes the energy is just a little like louder, and you can sip through to the sort of heart of it. Because these stories are all tragic and they all have a lot of energy. The more they get talked about,
that's true too.
Very true,
right? And you got to kind of
true too.
Get to the heart of it. So Asha's case was not widely talked about, and I just went right to the middle of it. And what she endured, no human being should ever have to endure that, and especially not an 8-year-old.
What do you wish that the world knew beyond the stereotypes and the sensationalism about people that have this skill?
Owning your own stereotypes, your own pessimism, your own biases, and being willing to see beyond that, and maybe give someone like me, my peers, a second for the benefit of the doubt, or just to ask a question, like, how do you get your information, rather than just assuming we're all fraudsters, we're all like woo-woo people, we all like have, like, there's not a single crystal in my whole freaking home. I don't own a crystal. The candle I'm burning is for scent only. Okay?
And I forgot to ask you, no tarot. You don't do
tarot
tarot. Okay.
On occasion, like if I'm tired, and it's like my 5th client and it's a long session, I'll pull it out, just because it's not that I'm reading the tarot card, it's that it's helping me flip subjects, or it's helping me hone in on something quick. I don't know how to read tarot. I honestly,
do they become like a signpost for you to a certain extent, the cards?
Yeah, so it's a visual kind of, it's something that, so as an example, I know that pentacles or the round disky things mean money, right? So if I see the round disky thing, I'll be like, oh, that's money. Where's the money coming from? Oh, a raise, promotion, ladder. Okay, you're getting it, right? So it's that very first that helps me go up. And it's just me being lazy sometimes, or because I'm tired.
Is that the technical term, the round disky things? I'm just kidding.
The round disky things. Yes, that is the technical thing. Like, I don't know what they mean, you know? Like, I know the sword thingies are like bad.
And some people learn how to read the tarot cards and don't really have a skill. They just learn how to read the cards, right?
Well, they've memorized the meaning, But I think that most people who use a tool like tarot, like runes, like a pendulum, they're really just using it as a prompt. It's a prompt to get into the energy of the topic. That's it. That's all.
So before you leave us, Victoria, we end each episode with the significant 7. And that
I'm
is
nervous.
7.
I don't know what
that
the
is
7 is going to contain.
That is 7 questions that do not change. Every guest gets the same 7 questions. Are you ready for the significant 7?
Fire away.
If you had to choose one word that holds the most significance in your life, whether it defines you, guides you, or challenges you, what would it be and why?
Acceptance for me, because like I'm impatient. So accepting where I am or the slowness of something is really difficult for me, because if I see it, I want it, and I want it right now. I have no patience. So acceptance. Mm-hmm.
What is the most significant piece of advice you've ever received?
I was getting nothing but no's from every agent that I was querying. And one of the agents who said no had a little pamphlet. And on the back of the pamphlet, it said, if nothing can prevent you from being a writer, keep going. But if something can, allow it. And I thought that was just, it doesn't just apply to writing. It applies to life. If something can prevent you from reaching a dream, go ahead and let it. If you can't think of anything other than like, a fatal illness or something along those, or a physical limitation, then why are you stopping? Why are you even
That's
slowing
so
down?
true.
That's
so
beautiful.
true. Not to make this about myself, but I just literally talked to my manager yesterday and said to her, if writing wasn't like breathing, don't you think I'd be the fuck out of here by now?
Exactly. Writing is hard, people.
Yeah.
It's freaking hard.
What would you say is the most significant risk you've ever taken?
Oh, wow. Probably becoming a psychic, leaving corporate America behind, or security, and becoming, this kind of entrepreneur in a job that is frowned upon by probably 80% of society. That was huge for me. Ugh, I still can't believe I did that.
Having the skills you have, do you still take risks, or can you mitigate them with your skills?
Oh, I always ask, like, how will this turn out? And sometimes most often it's not, yeah, this will turn out great. Like if I want to write in a new genre, or if I push the envelope a lot with my writing. I want to write for middle school. You've never written for middle school grade. I want to write for teens. You've never written for teens. The odds of success are so, I don't care. I'm just going to go take that risk. So I am not risk averse at all. That's where I get my adrenaline rush. But I do check. And sometimes if it's like, not now, it's that acceptance part, right? Wait, just wait. So it's still kind of a hodgepodge of those two confluences kind of coming together.
What's the most significant life lesson that you've ever learned?
Not to try and change someone else's opinion of you.
That's
if someone
great.
thinks you're an asshole,
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to talk them out of that. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Because if you can allow them their opinion, it frees you to be who you are.
What's the most significant moment in your life that changed how you see the world?
So I read once that Stephen Hawking, while he was still alive, and was, I think he was discussing a conversation that he had with Carl Sagan, and how he was convinced that this world is really just a video game, that we have downloaded ourselves into these physical bodies. And it was right around the time that I started working on my mediumship skills. And the longer I have interacted with the other side, the more convinced I am that this is, it's a video game. So that shifted my entire perspective. Rather than, you only get one life, you got to do everything, you got to do it the best you possibly can. I'm like, it's a video game. Sometimes you win at it, sometimes you lose at it. It's okay, still plugging along. It allows you to kind of let go of the pressure to be something that you probably can't be, right? Or to have, billions of dollars, or the pressure to be something that is beyond your capability, and just kind of, again, accept your circumstance, but try and get the most out of it, or affect the most people in a positive way that you can. So that changed my perspective forever, in a good way.
I want to ask a quick question, Victoria, because you do believe in reincarnation. Do you there's theories that the purpose of that is to continue to evolve spiritually as a spiritual being,
Sure.
to learn whatever lessons that we're supposed to be learning in these lifetimes, and that for lack of a better description, the players in your life, your family members, your romantic partners, parents, children, best friends, etc., you're just swapping roles in terms of in one lifetime I was a mother, the next lifetime I'm the child to the person that I was the mother.
Right.
So do you believe that there is the process of growing spiritually?
Absolutely. I kind of look at it like you come here for the challenge, right? And you stay for the reward. So maybe your challenge is to be a victim. Maybe your challenge is to be the villain. Maybe in a past life you were the victim, and maybe in this life you need to be the villain for someone else's victimhood, So I think as it's all a spiritual evolution. Even being an asshole teaches you something.
What significant relationship would you say has shaped you the most?
Oh gosh, my agent. 100% my agent. My agent and I have been together 21 years. And he has consistently believed in me without a moment of doubt for those 21 years, right? And that is that's better than family. He has challenged me. He has pushed me. He has, I went into a deep depression 15 years ago, and he literally saved my life. Was like, girl, you need therapy.
God
he
bless
is
him.
the truth teller. Yeah. And has been a truth teller in my life. And we've kind of grown up together. I mean, I was with him before he was old enough to rent a car.
That is a wonderful story. I love that.
I was like his third client. And now he's top biller, man. He's awesome. So he's been not just my business partner, but he has been my rock, the guy who's believed in me. I wouldn't have these without him at all. I would have been like $1 or $2 and done.
What is the most significant truth that you've come to understand about yourself?
I'm not broken. That came with understanding that I'm autistic. Because when you're autistic, you think you're broken. Because what is so easy for everybody else is so hard for you. And you're often so misunderstood, but you're trying so hard to be normal. And then when I realized, oh my God, I've got autism. Everything makes sense. And what I had spent a lifetime trying to fix did not need fixing. It was fine the way it was. And honestly, kind of special.
Perhaps that's the channel that was created for you to take in all of this information, because you're looking and feeling and expressing things absorbing things in a different manner. So what a gift.
For sure.
What a gift.
Victoria, it was a pleasure. I'm so honored. I was honored to have you on. You were on my wish list for our first season. I want all of our viewers to, we're going to drop all the links, them things that go at the bottom and all that, for all her books. Obviously to follow the PEM podcast, it's still called, right?
Yep,
the
Psychic Eye Mystery Podcast, PEM podcast.
Okay. So we'll put all the things where you can become a fan like I am at the bottom,
You're awesome, Heidi.
And Victoria, I really, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ditto.
From our hearts.
You guys are the best. I really appreciate it.
Until next time, guys, take care.